with everything. He wanted you to just get up, have in mind what you wanted to do it, and instead of trying to do it well. He said it's okay if you are excited or if you get nervous. It's okay. You can still play with those feelings. And that's what I was talking about yesterday, is that no matter what level you get at, and if you read what Tiger says, or any of those guys that are playing great, or Suzanne Pedersen at the Solheim Cup, she was nervous as heck over that last shot. And we all get nervous, but the best players know how to play with the nerves. They don't let it distract them. Don't dwell on the leaderboard, He said, remember, you can handle pressure if you don't make everything a big deal. Play each shot and each day with the same emphasis. So it didn't matter if it was the first day of the tournament or you're in contention on the last day. And that's what I really tried to do, is that, people would say, oh, did you look at the leaderboard? I didn't. I didn't want to. It would distract me. It would make me nervous. And because I was always trying to do the very best I could with every shot. I couldn't, if I knew I had to make some birdies, it wasn't going to change what I did, except make me tight and probably make mistakes, because then I was getting out of my routine and out of doing what I knew worked. So I think it's funny when we hear on TV, oh, they know where they're at, and now they got to really get something done here. I don't think it works that way. Some people might be able to turn it on, but if they could turn it on, why wouldn't they be at that level all the time and win everything? So Manuel was great with the mental game, always relating it to just getting back to making your swing and doing the best you could. When I would have lessons with him, I was pretty hard on myself, and if I wasn't getting it, if I was missing shot, I'd hit a lot of good shots, and I'd miss one, and I'd be like, oh, he'd say, forget it. Don't dwell on those. Let's think about what you did well, and just keep going and keep trying to do that. So I was saying, one of the other big things that I always had problems with was my body motion starting the forward swing. So what do you think a drill would be that he would have had me do? Take the club to the top and stop, return it to the ball. I have so many notes with that. Take the club to the top and stop, now return it to the ball, all together. And he had me doing that over and over and over again.
Would you incorporate that into a practice swing during the tournament at all?
No. It was, would I incorporate that in a tournament, in a practice swing? I might have an awareness of it beforehand as a reminder. If that was the one thing that was the most important thing, I might, before I would get to the ball, before it was my turn, I might stand back there and do that. I'll tell you that I just played, the last tournament I played in May, the Senior Open, I was having trouble hitting the ball. And I was hitting balls, I was practicing on the range, and I went up to, at our range, we had those golf bag holders, or stands where but I can do it here. I was like, what the heck is going on? So I came here and I got into the club, I was like this. Can you see that? I came into where the ball was supposed to be. I was like that. I was like, well, there's the problem right there. So using all these tools and these things that Manuel has taught us, it's, you can figure it out yourself what you need to do. So once I realized, oh, I had to bring it all back together, I hit the ball great. Again, too much body motion. I was restricting like I said earlier, restricting my backswing, which would put me on a plane to the left. And I'd swing, if I was swinging freely, I'd hit it left. And if I wasn't swinging freely, you know, it was going all over the place. Again, I was losing the center on my backswing. Let's see. Another thing that was mentioned earlier, I was playing the U.S. Open and playing very poorly, missed the cut, and I was desperate. You know, I would call Manuel when I could to get ideas from him, but there were times that I just had to go see him, so I'd jump on a plane. And this one time I missed the cut in the U.S. Open, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And I got there, made 2 swings, and he said, "I know what you're doing." I was just letting go with my little fingers in my left hand. The club was flopping. So as soon as he said, "Now keep your grip pressure constant throughout the entire swing." Pretty soon I was just nailing the ball again. But you know, just simple things like that you don't even realize you're doing wrong, and you think you're making bad swings, but it's just something that's just a little bit of a, you know, a lapse in awareness. So he noticed that it was the loss of control of the club. He said it was caused by, well, this is what he told me over the phone. It's either caused by not taking the club back with a firm but relaxed grip, or it was by starting the forward swing without the hands, that the hands weren't controlling the club. So the club was out, I didn't have control of the club. So, but that's what he told me, and then when he saw me, he realized that I was letting go with my grip. Again, he told me, try bringing the club back to the ball slowly and square. You know, bring it all back together. And, you know, when there was no pressure on or anything like that, I mean, no mental pressure, I mean, I could take the club back and do that, no problem. For me, it was so much, my problems came in with trying to hit the ball hard and worrying about what the results were. And he told me that over and over and over again. You girls are too concerned about results. Well, that's our job. You know, we're trying to make money and the results matter. So, you know, we had a hard time going back to just make the swing because I wouldn't say we didn't trust it, but we didn't trust ourselves that it was going to be good enough. I think, I don't know. Again, bring the whole club back to the ball together. Here's the one about the shoulders. Stopped swinging, and then I would lift the club, trying to get the club up. Shoulders stop going back with to shoulder level. Hands go up, then give shoulders a big move. Whoop. You know, I thought that was going to give me more power. Well, I didn't realize what I was doing. That, for some reason, gave me a feel I was going to get more power. Return the club to the ball slowly. Feeling like everything is going together at the same time. Desynchronization. He told me most times that I went to see him, he would tell me I was desynchronized. And do we all know what that means?
Tell us.
So it's that things aren't moving together. So I would get here. I would get the club to the top and I would start my body. The club wouldn't go anywhere, and then I'd have to catch up. And then it made me you know, flip my hands. When you play a lot, you can get away with a lot of bad things. You can make up, you know, you can get away with bad swings that still turn into okay shots. And I think it's the hardest thing is still to keep focused on just making the swing. But I would get desynchronized because I was always trying to get the power with my body. He would always, after I don't know how many years, I said, Manuel, next time I come here, you're not going to tell me I'm desynchronized. And he said, only if you're not.
How far did you fly a driver in your prime? Fly, you know?
200 yards, 205.
You felt that you should hit it 25. You were always
How many of you don't want more distance? When I played on the tour, I was just an average distance player. Everybody always wants more distance. So, and when I felt like, you know, this swing that Manuel teaches us, when you do it correctly, is so easy. Somebody said yesterday, effortless power, not powerful effort. And he said that to me plenty of times. And when we make the swing the right way, it feels like we've done nothing. And I say this to my students all the time. When they do it correctly, they say, I didn't feel like I did anything. And I said, that's perfect. Now, as a human being, we think, that went pretty well, and I didn't do anything. Maybe if I just give it a little more, it's going to go farther. And that's when we get in trouble. So what we want is the swing to feel like you've done nothing. Because once you get going forward, you've got to let it finish and go with it. All the effort comes from interference. 1987. Keep arms accelerating. 1, pass the ball. 2, toward the target. 3, in a constant acceleration. My problem at that point was the club head was getting ahead of my hands for 2 possible reasons. What do you think they could be?
Trying to add power.
Yeah, that was one. What's another way that the club head can get ahead of our hands?
Decelerating the arm.
Body was ahead and you're trying to catch up.
I can show you best with this. Stop my arms. Everything else, you know, my hands, my wrists, everything, there was good flexibility, but I stopped my arms from finishing, swinging all the way to the finish. So if you swing to the finish, then the club, as we know, will come through and along the path, along the circle the right way, and it won't, you know, the club head doesn't flail around. But if you stop your hands, that club head goes whoosh, it's going to keep going. Or stop your arms, I should say. Let's see. Lower body moves the same time as the upper body starts forward. Again, you know, I was getting my lower body going. That felt more powerful. Excuse me? So, the incorrect way, I would get this way and then I'd have to catch up with my arms, my hands. The correct way, the body is quiet and is really just the center around which the club is swinging. All right, let's see. Here's some more the mental game stuff, or using your mind the right way. Is, he said, make the swing and visualize the shot. That the swing and the shot, they have to go together. They have to, objectively and subjectively, you want to visualize a shot and your swing, that they work together. And you know how he would always say, you know, nothing happens, no actions happen without a thought preceding it. And I always got a kick out of him talking about, you know, thinking about the things that you want to do and not the things that you don't want. And when you would, you know, we've all heard him say, when you say, what did I do wrong? Why do you want to do it again? But my favorite example from him was, he would say, when you go shopping, do you make a list of what you don't want? And, you know, it just, the things he would say made so much sense that it was, you know, it was fun. And they're timeless. I use them all the time. Let's see, forward swing. I also had a big issue with swinging the club towards the target. And don't ask me when I got this one worked out, because I don't think I have.
Sorry.
My tendency, and the last couple years that I talked to Manuel about this, he disagreed with me. I said I felt like I had always done this. I would swing left and hold the club face open. I always had the wear spot on my club was always toward the toe. And he would say, no, when you swung well, you didn't do that. But a couple years ago, after Manuel passed, and I was still playing some tournaments, I was really struggling. And Pam Barnett, who used to run these seminars, lives nearby. She'd worked with Manuel and had, you know, not only worked with him when she played on the tour, but she taught his method. And so I called her and I know you're not giving lessons anymore, but would you see me? And so I went to see her, and she said, what about taking the swing and finishing the club toe up at the target? Do you do that? And I've said, I've never been able to do it. And Manuel would talk about doing it, and he would say, you know, he would work with me all the time. He'd say, okay, put the club toe up at the target. Can you see that? Yes. Okay, now swing. Keep that image in your head. Can you see it? No. I couldn't see it when I would swing. So I went to see Pam, and she said that Angel worked with her, Manuel's father, and she said he would make us take drivers, full length backswing, and we had to stop the club there, toe up at the target. And she said, so do that. And I was like, whoop, nope. You know, and every time I'd try to do it with Manuel, and he'd stand out here, and I'd be over here. He'd say, no, you're left. And so finally, after Manuel was gone, I no longer could work with him, I finally decided I'm going to do it after I saw Pam. So I went back to my range, and I said to myself, okay, can I do this without a ball? Of course. Without even thinking about it, I can do that every single time. But I'd put a ball there, and I would go left. So I decided, I don't care where this ball goes. I am just going to do it. And I just did it slowly at first, and the ball went straight. It's like, wow. And I just worked on it until it actually gave me confidence that I could do it, that the ball would go where I wanted it to go. And the other thing that she told me that Manuel had talked to me about was, you take when you're having a little trouble, all you got to do is put the club on your right shoulder and then swing it around to your left shoulder. And I was like, that is the easiest thing in the world. And again, I can do it every time without any problem when there's no ball there. But if there's a ball there, now there's all sorts of things going on. So I, again, made myself. I don't care where this ball goes. It could go, I don't know, anywhere. But I just went here, one motion to there, and the ball went straight. And it was so easy. I got a little emotional. You know me, I get a little emotional. And I'm going to get emotional now. But that I couldn't do it when Manuel was around. It really bothered me. But I finally did it. And he would say, at least you kept trying and you got it done. I had lessons with him for until his last year. For 39 years I took lessons from him. And there'd be times that he'd be working with me on something. And after years and years, and I'd finally say, I think I got it, Manuel. I said, why does it take me so long? And he said, doesn't matter. Only matters that you're doing it now. Sorry. I can't help it. You know, he was such a huge person in my life. Let's get back to this. Woo. All right. This is a fun one for me because as I was going through, I realized that this is on the back of a car rental slip. I must have been in the airport someplace. I needed him desperately. So, swing the whole club to the finish. Any left action of the ball is the club closing, using the hands too much on the forward swing. Right shots, you're starting the forward swing with your body. Wait, what year was this? 1993. Still using too much of my body. So he would give me talk to me about Carol Mann and the rest of the gals that would come to see him on their weeks off. And he would say to me, why don't you come and see me more often? Well, I was playing 30 tournaments a year, so I didn't have a lot of weeks off. And they didn't have as many tournaments. And Carol actually told me before she passed, I was talking to her about this, and she said he loved it when we would come and they would sit with him and watch him give lessons, and they would take notes, and then they would have dinner with him, and they would come back and they would have lessons, and they would all take notes. And she said to me, you didn't have a chance to do that. You were playing all the time. You and Sherry, you were, you know, he would actually was upset with us that we didn't come and spend more time with him. But I would fly in, sometimes I'd fly in and see him and, you know, have my lesson and then fly out 2 hours later. But just doing that for me was, you know, so necessary, and it worked. Here's another one in 1987. Full shots. Synchronize. Start forward, the forward swing with the club, not with the body. He would talk to me about alignment, of course, and, you know, taught me the sticks and the practicing alignment. I think yesterday we were talking about alignment, and somebody was brought up the dominant eye and all that stuff. You know, and he would say to me, sometimes we just lose the right angles, and we lose the vision of what it looks like to where our target is. And that's why you have to have those sticks and go through the process. And so, I mean, alignment was always an issue for me, and I'd have to periodically bring my sticks out or a club or whatever and go through the whole process. There's my target, put the club down, get myself set, square myself, face the club, and then I would look. Oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. You know, so he would emphasize the fact that you have to keep working it, and just because you have it now doesn't mean that you're always going to have it. You have to keep working on it. Check the shoulders in the club that they're moving together, backward and forward. I had a major issue with that, apparently. Anyway, that's all I have on those notes, but you know, he made it simple, and he was consistent, and it didn't matter who he was teaching. He gave them 100% when they were there. I had just won the major tournament that I won, and I was driving through Milwaukee, and I decided I was going to go and say, Manuel, I won. And I got into Milwaukee Country Club, and he was giving a lesson. And until he finished that lesson, he didn't come over and congratulate me or say hi or anything. Fortunately for me, the person he was giving a lesson to was another LPGA player, Debbie Massey. And she stopped and she said, Martha, great job. But Manuel, his time was with Debbie. He was just there for her. He was just a phenomenal guy. What questions do you have? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, we talk about the golf swing, Emmanuel, and what he's talked about the golf swing, but he was so consistent in the golf swing and life, and do the best you can. And keep your mind on what you know works, and keep doing it, and just try to make it better. Yes, and let it go. And have no expectations. Yeah, I mean, he was great. And then when I got off the tour and I finished the '99 season. So in 2000, I got a coaching job at McAllister College. And I had started coming to the seminars, I don't know why, just because I wanted to hear him teach. And I continued coming to the seminars because I wanted to learn how to teach better. I went to him and had a left-handed lesson one time after I got off the tour, because, you know, for me, putting my hands on the club here, swinging the club, is like breathing. And sometimes it's better than others, but, you know, sometimes you breathe better than others too. But it's like breathing. And then I was teaching people that didn't know how to do it very well. So I said, Manuel, I want you to give me a lesson left-handed, because I am very uncoordinated left-handed. And it was amazing. And, you know, how can people not know how to put their hands on the club? And now I'm like, is that right? You know, I knew the concept, but it sure felt weird. And I'd be like, what? What's going on here? And then I finally get going, and then, like, what am I doing? It was, for me, it was a humbling thing. It was so humbling. It gave me so much appreciation for the beginners and people that aren't used to playing golf. But he was great. He helped me through that. He would come and give lessons to my team. One day in our season, I'd schedule him to come and he'd spend the entire day. And of course, you know, he would never stop for a break or anything. You'd have to make him stop. But I would take notes as he would give lessons to every one of my players. And I learned so much from watching that. After working with these kids for, you know, several months, and I couldn't help them. I couldn't figure them out. I didn't know how to teach. And one gal in particular, and she'd get like that, and I was like, I would say, Grace, you know, try to stand more upright. Let's see if you can turn your shoulders more and get your arms here. And I kept going over all these body things that I wanted her to do to, you know, get out of this awkward like position. So Manuel, I'm like, Manuel, wait till you see this one. And so she takes her swing, and he goes, okay, Grace, let's do this. I want you to take your swing and hold the position at the top until I tell you to stop. So she's up here, and she's like shaking, and she's shaking, and he's like, are you comfortable? She said, no. And he goes, okay, stop. He goes, okay, now get yourself set up here. Now take it to the top and stop where you're comfortable. There she was, perfect position. And I was like, are you kidding me? And to this day, I mean, that was back in 2000. To this day, she said, I will never forget the look on your face when he did that. Because, and it was true for every one of my kids. I was working with them with their bodies. And he never mentioned their bodies in the swing. He only talked about what? Where is the club supposed to go? And if you know where it's supposed to go and you let your body go with it, that's what you have to focus on. And it fixed every one of their problems. And they were all different. They were all different. It was the biggest teaching lesson for me ever. It was amazing.
Martha,
yeah.
Can you talk about your practice routine, both when you're getting ready to play in a tournament and also when you were working on something that you had been taught before?
Yes, I can try. I didn't really have so much a routine. I didn't like practicing, which actually was good with this method because it's, you know, based on how your body moves, and so you don't have to try to manipulate things into positions that are unnatural. I had been an athlete all my life, so I had body awareness, but Manuel taught everything to relate it to how we move in life, how we work in life, and everything else. So I didn't know how to practice. When I started on the tour, I didn't know how to practice, and I just knew that I had to do a lot. I was behind the eight ball. I didn't have a lot of experience, so I just ended up, I hit a lot of balls. But one of the things that I did that I thought was infinitely important was I knew I had to hit a lot of balls, but I'd just get bored just hitting balls. So I would take a giant bucket of balls, and I was practicing at a range that had some trees out there and all different targets. I mean, it was narrower than this, and there were like some giant trees right off to the side. So I would decide, I'm going to take, and Manuel would suggest doing things like this, every club in my bag and hit it to 80-yard target. You know, from the driver all the way to the putter. And figure out how you need to hit to that target with every club in your bag. Or there was branches through this tree. And so I would work on hitting shots through those branches. Just because I knew I had to hit lots and lots of balls and just get experience. But what I learned was to be able to take half swings, three-quarter swings, hit the ball low, hit the ball high. I didn't really know. I mean, Manuel told me how to do those things, and it was mostly about changing ball position. I mean, he always focused on making the swing the same way every time and changing your club. I had an experience one of my first years on the tour. I was playing with somebody and during a round, and she hit the ball a lot farther than I did. And I don't know why she cared what club I was using, but every par three, we'd walk off the tee and she'd say, what club did you use? Well, they were all different distances, but because of the conditions, I think every time I used a 5-iron. Sometimes I choked it down, you know, and I hit a 3/4 shot. Sometimes I just manipulated by ball position and choking down on the club and the size of my swing. So it happened to be a 5-iron every single time. And I'd walk off the tee and I'd say, I used a 5-iron. She'd say, 5-iron? I used an 8-iron. It's like, okay. So next par 3, what club do you use there? 5-iron? 5-iron? I used a 5-iron. You know, she hit it a lot farther than I did. And, you know, it just taught me, that was one of the best things that I learned, was to be able to hit shots using the same swing. I wasn't changing anything. I was just changing, like I said, you know, grip down on the club, play it back in your stance, play it forward in your stance, take a half swing. And like my caddy would oftentimes say to me, all right, you know, you've got, this is the yardage, what club do you want to use? And I'd say, ooh, today, he said, you could either, you know, hit it like a punch 7-iron or a full 8-iron. And I'd be like, today, I don't feel real good with my full swing. I think I'm going to punch a 7-iron. Or, you know, I don't think a punch shot right here is any good. I better go after something. So, you know, Manuel's method helped me learn lots of shots. One of the things I did do later on, I didn't do a lot of drills, which I wish I had, competitive drills. I learned, I mean, I hit practice shots, I got bored, I hit practice shots, I got bored, I stopped. Sometimes if I was in a tournament, I would knew that I had to hit a few balls just to smooth out my swing, maybe after a round of, you know, high winds or whatever. And I would just go to the range and I'd say, all right, I'm going to hit 5 clubs. I've got to hit 5 great shots with those 5 clubs. And once I do that, I'm done, instead of just standing there pounding balls. Short game, it was hard to practice short game because we didn't really have great facilities. And so I used it as an excuse to not practice short game. And so my short game wasn't very good. And finally, my caddy said, all right, every day we're going to do some short game. He would set up goofy targets. He would move the target every 3 shots. And I had to change clubs, and I was constantly figuring out what club do I need for this shot. Or we would do a drill, or he would, you know, we're going to hit to this pin, and he would have a club, and he'd say, you got to get 7 out of 10 within the rubber, and if you don't, you owe me $1. You know, I was like, I don't want to owe him $1, so I was a cheapskate. So you know, it made me work hard. Doing drills, what I was saying yesterday, learning how to play under pressure, drills are a great way to do that. And then the other thing is, drills can be either repetitive if you need to work on a swing thing. I would do repetitive things and just really paying attention to that one swing thought that you're working on. But always then put in some competitive, changing the targets. And that's really important, to be able to take it from here out on the golf course.
Okay, we need to probably head to the next lesson. Let's thank Martha Nause for this talk today. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.